Which one of these two teams do you think is better positioned for the next few years, Philadelphia or Orlando?
Like when you say few years, like I can only kick the can down the road with Embiid for like 2 years, right? I don't know what 3 years down the road looks like. If you ask me 3 plus, I'd say Orlando. How are they going to mess that up? They got incredible size. They got a great player. Um, but next year, it's like that's like not an easy thing to add on to with Orlando. Who is the perfect guy? Do they want to go with, shooting? Is that their problem? When you think about guys and the way they shot the three in that game against Cleveland, is it veteran leadership? Like I tell you what I would do. I know that like there's a lot of people that are linking Paul George to a lot of places. To me, Paul George is a perfect fit for Orlando, but I haven't even heard that rumor at all. I think he could. I think those guys would look up to him. This generation, by the way, loves Paul George, like more so than like what you would say, like people who have been around the NBA for a long time or even in the media. But I don't know if he'll go there. Maybe the weather, the tax, whatever that might come into play. But you have to think if Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers want to win right now, you have to think with Maxey, who has a cap hold of a lot less than he's going to make, Embiid, they have a couple picks. Maybe the Philadelphia Sixers in the short term could kind of fix their I don't want to call it a Tobias Harris problem, but they've always seemed to point the finger at Tobias Harris, how he wasn't a great fit for that team. Maybe they can find the perfect fit for that team. It doesn't have to be free agents. You can also trade into space. There could be some right now. You see all the great veteran players who are sitting at home. So maybe those guys want to go team up with the Joel Embiid. You never know how guys think. You know what? Let me team up with that guy. I know I can help him win. And there's not a player in the NBA that doesn't respect or love to watch or enjoy Tyrese Maxey. So win now, the Philadelphia 76ers, 3 years from now, they sign the right guy. Orlando Magic could be a problem for the NBA.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia is the better positioned team right now for all the reasons you laid out there. Embiid is still in the prime of his career, finished the season banged up, and that's always going to be the question with him, like how he gets through a regular season and how well or how healthy he's going to be in the playoffs. But we saw Tyrese Maxey take a big jump this year, and I think he can take another one next year. I mean, I think you could be talking all NBA first team next year, like in the MVP conversation the next couple of years. I think there's still room to grow for Tyrese Maxey. That's only going to benefit Embiid as he starts to play better. I think the question for both teams is specifically with Paul George. How aggressive do you get in going after Paul George? Now, anyone that signs him is going to have to give him the 4 years, $220 million, or maybe even work out a sign and trade with the Clippers to give him a little bit more in terms of years. Would you be nervous if you were either team about going all in on Paul George, who is, I believe, 34 years old at this point? Maybe, I guess he can't go 5 years in a new deal, but 4 years, $220 million for Paul George. Will you be at all anxious if you were either team about doing that?
What I would try to convince him is, why don't we do a 3-year player option for third year and, give him that flexibility, right? Anytime you're going down the road at that age at 4 years, you never know how a guy's going to age. But you could tell him, like, listen, you could also opt out after year 2 and get something big later. Like you can get another deal after this, which could be more money for you. Like one thing about these players nowadays, whether it's their diets, their workouts, they don't play through a lot of injuries anymore. And these guys are playing a lot longer than before. Now, are they in the prime of their career? Probably not. Does Paul George give the Orlando Magic a chance to win a championship in the next couple of years? Probably. So the idea that you have a chance, maybe there's not another guy you can sign to give you that opportunity. And maybe the Magic want to be in that. And maybe Paul George doesn't have to carry the load that he would have to do if he went to a Philadelphia or it just could be a good fit for him. So I would be hesitant at 4 years at that age, especially with a guy with injury history, but I probably wouldn't be hesitant at all with 3 years and a player option for the third and give the guy a chance if he wanted to opt out and sign another 2-year deal. Maybe you can convince him of that. But, when it comes to nowadays guys, and LeBron is kind of like breaking the mold, like look how good he is. And he's 39. He's going to, like, LeBron could be good for 3 more years after that. I kind of feel like Like if you ask me about Kawhi Leonard, I'd probably say no, but Paul George, I'd probably say I'd be okay with that for both teams.
If it came down to it, I wouldn't blink if I was either team at giving him the 4-year deal because, there's a risk on the back end of that deal. No question. Paul George could get hurt. Paul George could be a diminished player. But I think that's the roll of the dice you have to take if you're both teams. I kind of like it in a way. It's not apples to apples, but the deal that Minnesota made to get Rudy Gobert, right? Like they knew they were on like the precipice of something. They had good players. They needed something else. They gave up a lot to get Rudy. It looked like a disaster in year one. This year, looking pretty good. Rudy Gobert and Cat have played well together, and it looks like if they succeed at a championship level, Rudy Gobert is probably going to have a big part of that. The Orlando Magic, Scal, have a 2-year window here where it's before their contracts, their books blow up, right? Like where you have to give Banchero big money, Jalen Suggs big money, Franz Wagner big money. You got to use that capital. And I've seen some people out there say, all right, well, you can spread it around, right? You can give some to Klay Thompson. You can give some to Buddy Hield. You can get some and more shooting that way. Okay, fine. But Paul George, even if he's not the absolute perfect fit with that team, he still addresses a lot of their issues. To your point, he's a veteran in that locker room. I think Paul George can push them into the NBA Finals. Like, given that I believe that so many of those guys in that team are going to get better, I think that's a risk worth taking if you're the Orlando Magic. Similarly, if you're Philadelphia, like you got 2 years here. Like I don't know what Embiid's body is going to look like, at age 33, 34. I think he's probably going to break down even more at that stage. You've got Maxey, you've got Embiid. You throw Paul George in that mix. Yeah, you're going to have a bunch of minimum guys probably on that team because they're going to have to gut their roster to clear that $60-ish million in cap space. But to me, on day one that you're allowed to do it, if I'm Philadelphia and if I'm Orlando, I'm making it perfectly clear that 4 years, $220 is not a problem for me. I would give both those teams, I would give to Paul George.